Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. Today we'll just be doing a sort of open Q&A session. Um, if anyone wants to, I can probably bring you into the call, like if you want to do a video thing, but I've got the chat feed here, so you can just put your questions in there as well. But if you do want to jump in and talk too, feel free to just let me know. But I'm going to, unless there's specific questions to start with, I'm just going to start with sort of a general tour of what we've been doing, in case you haven't seen the long video. Unfortunately, the long form video was taken off of YouTube. I don't know why. It says that we release like personal information. I have a feeling it was when I went to my email browser to get the invite, and for like 1 second you can see my emails. So I'm thinking that's probably what it was. But what we'll do is we'll put that webinar on our website and just provide a link. So that will probably just be somewhere on the website to get to. Might just start putting all the webinars on the website as well, just as a second place to host them all. So this will probably end up there as well. Cool. So like I said, if you have questions, just drop them in the chat, or if you want to talk live, that's cool too. But I'm going to just sort of get going on a general what we've been doing, and yeah, and then just of course let me know what you guys want to know about, and if you have questions about what we're doing in the future and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so I'll just try to check back to this chat like every minute or so. Cool. So I'm just, this is from a student point of view. I'm just running an assignment right now, just so I have some data. Cool, 10%. Awesome. So this is the teacher account. Now, I guess the first thing that's probably noticeable to a lot of people is the color is different. This is not necessarily permanent. So what you can do is go to settings, and then you can choose pink and green, purple and gold, and blue and pink. Purple and gold is sort of the original color. So that's back to the, one that you've probably known. And then the blue and pink, this one is sort of just a blue color. So that's just, you can pick and choose what you want. I personally still like the purple the most, I think. But yeah, so that's one thing. So basically, what we've been doing is trying to simplify the UI. So make all the tools easier to use and enhance them in any way that we can. So the first thing you'll probably notice is we've taken away a lot of buttons that used to be on this homepage. There used to be more tabs. We've condensed a couple of them. There used to be more sort of like little options and things that you could do. If it's something that is relevant, we've kept it by moving it to these little menus. So like removing a student, we used to have like a trash can icon, and you would like click the student and then click the trash can. But honestly, you don't remove students all that often, so it's really not important to see it all the time. So you can either right click on the student and remove it, or click the three dots to do the same. The other thing we've done is moved away from, we used to give you a choice between showing the little monster icon or just showing the username. Now we've combined them. And the reason for that is that you can actually click on the monster icon, and it will show a quick little summary of that student. So if you need to, get some information about them real quick, it's just right there. And we've moved the start lesson button to this camera icon. So instead of it being above the username, so you used to select the user and then click start lesson. Now you just find the user and then click the icon right here to start the lesson. If the student's not online, you'll see that their icon is a person at a whiteboard. So this is implying an in-person lesson. So that's how you'll start an in-person lesson. You just find the offline student, which is also denoted by the red ring around the icon. So, and there's sort of like a red shadow. So that implies that they're offline, and it says offline. But then you just click this, and that will bring you into your in-person room. So all of that is still the same. One function we did remove is there used to be little checkboxes next to your students. So you could multi-select and then start the group. Instead, we've just moved everything for groups to the groups tab. So it's a little easier to make groups now. You can, group test, and then you can just go through and you can select all the students that you want to be a part of that group. And then once you've done that, you hit save, and now that's just in your group list. To start a group lesson, you can just click on this and then hit start group lesson, and that will fire up the online room immediately. Yeah, and then these similarly, for groups, instead of showing you data of the group, it shows you who's actually in the group. So it's sort of like an attendees list. So yeah, it's just a quick visual way of seeing what's going on. And same thing, you can right click. Oh, it's weird. Why am I right click? That was strange. But yeah, you can right click to get the menu up as well. Cool. Let me just see any questions or anything so far. Nope. Cool. And there are questions or Q&A. All right. Oh, yeah. So Craig, is that the you're getting like some kind of like pop-up or something in the corner here that says like that file's not shared with your student? It is. So I'm not totally sure why that is happening. Yeah, let me double check on that, because that's probably just a little bug with the notifications than actually. Yeah, okay, cool. I'll double check on that. I think it's a bug with just the notification, not actually the files. But if you do notice that it's actually the file not sharing, let me know. But from my testing, even when I saw that little pop-up, I was still able to access the file. But yeah, those kinds of things, as everyone knows, please let us know. And Craig did let me know about that earlier, so we've been kind of keeping an eye on it. This launch actually was, in one way, a great success, in the sense that there were not that many bugs that we found. I'm sure you'll all find stuff for us, but compared to other big rollouts, this was a lot of stuff that changed. So there's always possibility that things can go wrong. So, all right, back to the teacher accounts. So, group classes, I think we've covered that pretty well. The newsfeed pretty much have not changed this, so that still does and acts exactly as is. If you're not familiar with the newsfeed, it's basically just a quick way of seeing what's going on. For a teacher, you can filter the newsfeed, so you have tons of different sort of options of what you want to display. And then you can mark things as read by either marking them all as read or just clicking the little thumbs up. These are also quick links, so if someone does share something to you, you can click this and it will immediately open the assignment that is being referred to. So that's just a faster way of moving through the platform. I guess while we're here, it's a good segue to the assignment changes. So with the assignments, we've made an update so that instead of there being sort of a panel on the right side and all the items in there, we've moved them into tabs, as we've sort of seen the tabs work pretty well for us. So we've got instructions in its own tab, assignment files in its own tab. So I assume this doesn't have anything attached to it, but those would be showing in a list here. And then student files. And so this is the student practice data, which we've done a lot more with now. We track sort of which days the students actually practice, which days of the weeks, how many days in a row. You can set a goal for the student. We track still how many sessions and the total time. You can even now set a due date for assignments, and this progress bar is sort of based on that goal and the due date. So if the goal is an hour and they've only done 10%, probably only done 5 or 6 minutes. And then the objective was for them to get an hour done before the 17th. Now, if they did complete the hour before the 17th, this little award at the end here will sort of fill in with color, and it will be gold. And that's so if they finish before the due date, or on the due date, they get a gold badge. If they finish after the due date, they'll get a silver badge. And of course, if they never finish, it's just going to just stay like this. And then when students make notes on their assignments, they'll appear here. And then when students upload files, those will appear here. And I'll show you how that works in a second. One other thing to mention throughout the platform now are these little sort of, I think they look like maps. So that's sort of the idea. It is a tour, and it will just walk you through all of the buttons and tell you exactly what it does. So that one up in the corner is sort of the general tour. And then this one down here is specifically for this tool that you're using. So it will go through in detail and explain exactly what it is. So, if you're ever not sure, you can always refer back to those. Cool. Let me just check on my chat. All right. Do we still have to leave the lesson if a student is late to a group session? Do we? No, you should never have to. That was never the case. When you run a group lesson, the students can show up anytime. You never have to leave. If you leave, actually, they can't get in. So what I would recommend for groups is just firing up the group room, and that has sent the invite to all of the students automatically. So yeah, you would just hang out in this room. And if you're ever not sure about sort of like where your students are or what's going on, maybe you're in the room and you're just waiting around, nobody seems to be showing up, click on this attendees list, and this will tell you which of your students are currently online, so you can see if they're even logged in. If they're logged in and they're not joining, then you might want to reach out to them and figure out what's going on. But if they're not even logged in, then you know that they're just not even there yet. So that's a quick way of sort of seeing what's going on. But yeah, you should never leave the group room, because then they can't get in. Yeah, and I would use, and as I mentioned, because we got rid of the multi-select feature, which I don't think that many people are really using, but it's really better to group students permanently anyway. It makes it just much cleaner when you're sharing things. Does that make sense? Hope that helps. And then, so with the assignments, we'll just kind of continue on from here a bit. What I just showed you all was the the view window. There's also the edit window. So in this case, if we right click and then hit edit, this will take us to this window, which many of you are familiar with. This is what happens when you create a new assignment as well. So you go here, and of course you enter the assignment name. Now you can enter in a practice goal and a due date. So that's sort of what I was just showing on the assignment. That's where you'll fill that in. You fill in all of the content here. And right, as I said, this one probably didn't have files. So I can just go ahead and attach something. Save. And now those are all attached to that assignment. And many of you know about the AI. So while we're here, I'll just briefly go over this if you're not sure. Basically, the way the AI works is you can hit record, and this will transcribe anything you say. So I'll just make a little space here. For this lesson, I'd like you to work on your major scales and your minor scales. Please focus on alternate picking and use your metronome. And then when you hit stop, everything you say will have been written out. And then you can use AI Magic to actually turn that into a full assignment, which you can see I already did here. But you have a dozen different prompts that you can use to create assignments, to create resources for your students. It can even write out guitar tab, which is kind of cool. So yeah, you can build practice routines. The little bit of everything is neat. I added this one recently. When you do this, what it will do is it will make notes for the teacher and assignments for the students. So you can sort of separate the notes for yourself and put those in the note tool, and then you can leave the assignment part there for your students. This is also a new AI, or I guess an upgraded AI from the previous version. So sorry, it does take about 10 seconds longer to generate its answers, but they're technically about 10 times smarter. So yeah, it's just a little bit of a trade-off, but it is pretty cool because the results that it produces now are much more accurate. So you see, we've got meeting notes, we've got a music assignment that, of course, this is pulling directly from there. We've got tasks, we've got a summary of the content. So as you can see, it's getting a much more capable. So we're just going to keep adding features to this, as we go. But basically, that's how you build an assignment. So I know this is sort of the backwards, but this is how you build an assignment. And then when you're with your students and you're actually interacting with it, you're going to see more of the this type of thing with the tabs. So that's just sort of the difference between the editor and the viewer as far as assignments go. Just check out. Is oh, okay, yeah. Cool. Okay, so for assignments, since we're still on this, we'll just jump over real quick to the student's point of view and how they interact with assignments and what they see. As per usual, is very, very similar to what the teacher sees, so that you can guide them. But basically, when they get into their account, this is pretty much what they're going to be seeing. They have the assignments tab first because we've noticed that seems to be the most common sort of use for students when they're not taking a lesson. So that's the first thing they see. They'll see all of the assignments that they've had, and then if they scroll down, they'll see all the others, that they've got available. You just double click on the assignment, and this automatically closes the sidebar. If a lesson comes through, there'll be like a little notification, so they will still see that. But it just gives them a little bit more real estate to work with. What you'll notice is all of the other tabs are all grayed out. That's so they don't accidentally click out of the assignment when they meant to just click on one of these files. So instructions are just as they appeared for the teacher. Assignment files, now that I've actually added something, will appear here. Any of these can be opened and they become a tab too, and everything is fully interactive. And we'll get into the whole new whiteboard in a second, but you have the whiteboard here. So, if you put any templates or any notation or anything in here, the student has that to work with. And then they can jump back and forth between different resources. As you can see, you can even have multiple whiteboards open at the same time, different videos, all that kind of stuff. Anything you attach to an assignment, the student has pretty quick access to. And as you'll see down at the bottom, the practice timer, that starts automatically when the assignment is opened. It can be paused. So if the student's taking a break, they can pause it and they can come back and restart. One other thing we've added to the practice timer is students can go into their practice log and they can change the amount of time that they've practiced, but they can only decrease that time. So this is for when students accidentally leave the timer running for 20 hours. They can go in and they can edit that down to 1 hour or whatever it was supposed to be. They can't add more time, of course, because metronome. So student, that's the same. That hasn't really changed. Students just have their metronome when they need it. File upload, that's still pretty much the same. We've just moved everything to this bottom toolbar. So the students have, they can upload a file, they can record a video, and when they do that, it opens the clips tool. Or they can even just record an audio track. So a good example of that would be if this was like a piece of sheet music or something, and I wanted to play along with it, I can just hit record, and this will let me record while I practice. So I don't need to be worrying about like a big interface with videos and all that stuff. I can just make quick little audio recordings, and they get saved as clips. So you can add to them later and do all of the same stuff that you would with the normal clips, but that's sort of just a really, really condensed version of clips so that you can use it while you're looking at other material. And then, pretty much with the assignments, same thing for students. They'll see all the data on this page. This is, when they upload things, this is where they'll go. When they create recordings, this is where they'll go. If they want to write notes, they can be like, hi, this is easy. And they can save those notes, and those will appear for the teacher now. So yeah, it hasn't really changed functionally, but it has changed layout-wise. And this recording audio is new. And again, you've got your little map, so that will give you a tour of the whole UI and all the buttons and whatnot if needed. Cool. Let me just pause there and take a look, see if there's any questions. No, cool. So from the student point of view, when you finish an assignment, you can just close it and all of the data will save automatically. As you can see, we've made more progress on our assignment. We've passed the due date, so we're not going to get a gold badge, but we can still get a silver one. The goal is an hour. The streak is 1. So we practice this 1 day in a row. So if we come back tomorrow and practice, then I'll go to 2. And you can see the total practice time is 20 minutes. So this is just a nice quick view for students. And as these fill in, it's kind of cool seeing the ones you've completed on time versus ones you've completed late versus the ones you haven't finished yet. One thing we will add is instead of just the search, we're going to add filters. So you can do things like organized by due date, organized by the date created, organized by the goal, by the practice time, by the streak, by the name, sort of however you want, really. So we're going to build in a little sort of tagging system. So that's something you can look forward to in the future. Cool. For as far as assignments go, does anyone have any questions? I'm going to sort of jump on to another topic here. But this is probably one of the bigger changes we made, so definitely worth going over. Let me just check the chat. Cool. All right, so we'll just keep jumping forward. So files pretty much have not changed. The only difference is that we've added thumbnails now. So your thumbnails usually don't load on the first time you're in here. And some old files, the thumbnails won't load. So unfortunately, these ones are not loading for me to show you. Wait, these ones will. There we go. So this gives you an idea of sort of what the thumbnails look like. So the idea there is you just kind of get a quick glimpse of what the file is before you open it or before you share it. Otherwise, files is pretty much the same. The progress bar and the due date are just for assignments. So if you have any assignments, you'll see the due date. And if your student has practiced it, like this one, you'll see the progress. So yeah, so otherwise files really hasn't changed. And if you're not familiar with this is the pin board. So we've had this for a little while, but basically the idea is you just right click and you hit pin, and then that item will be pinned for that student. So when the student logs in, they'll see, as you'll see here, that assignment is now pinned at the top of my my file list. So if it's important content that you need the students to look at, you can pin it to the top. And you can always just unpin it too. Just click, just right click it and unpin. Yeah, okay. Files, that's pretty much that. So any questions on files? Any questions on assignments? Yeah, pinned is cool. Yeah, exactly. Assignments are there are so many. It's actually literally the #1 like used resource on the platform. There are tens of thousands of them. I'm not even sure how many now, but an insane amount. So yeah, tagging I think will become really important. It'll sort of act as almost a foldering system in a way because you can tag things multiple times and whatnot. So yeah, we'll be rolling that out in the next couple months. But yeah, pinning is really useful. It's sort of one of those hidden features that it's oh, one thing about pinning actually, just because we're talking about it, you can only pin a file that is shared. So you can't pin a file that's not shared. So for obvious reasons. But yeah, so if your pin is grayed out, it means that you haven't shared that file. Yeah, and as you can see, the pin list goes away or changes depending on who you're clicking on. So chat has had a little bit of an overhaul. So really, we just changed the UI just so everything's a little bit easier to read, and one function add to chat, which is a big add for me just because this is sort of how I type. You can do sort of hi, and then if you hold down shift and hit return or enter, you can now do sort of like this spacing sort of stuff. and it will send it as a message, as a single message. Previously, the chat was only able to do one line at a time, and if you hit enter, it would send the message, even if you held down shift. So now you can do that sort of more formatting, I guess, would be the way to describe it. But that's pretty much the only changes to chat. Events has had a pretty big update. We've completely changed what events look like to make them just a little bit more visually appealing and to give you a bit more useful information at one glance. We have also moved the history tab. So there used to be another tab called history. That is now this past tab. So if you, because this is, history used to just be any events that you have scheduled that are past. So sort of makes sense to put them here. So any lessons that occur will just go into this tab called past. If the lessons are recorded, they will show this view recording button. And so that's much clearer than what it used to be. It used to be a tiny little green camera icon, and you'd click that to see your video. This is so much clearer. And also, just to mention, lesson recordings are also stored in the files under a folder called lesson recordings, which everybody should have. So if students aren't sure where to look, they can either find those recordings in the files, or if you've added it to an assignment, it would be there. But it's also available here in the past tab. And yeah, we just sort of made these more of a card, so they're a little bit easier to see. And same for upcoming events. One thing to mention for upcoming events or today's events, if the event is within the next 15 minutes, so let me put, so I'll just do one that's like a little late. You will get this start button, so you can start your scheduled event from here. Yeah, so some teachers honestly can almost just do this and and use the whole event system to manage all of their lessons. That's totally up to you. That's sort of why it's designed that way. But yeah, upcoming will show you out into the future. Previously, today and upcoming were one page, and past was a completely different tab. So that has been unified. Creating an event is still the same. It's the exact same form as it was. We didn't change that at all. So yeah, you just fill out the form as you would expect, and then you choose who you're inviting. And if you have groups, you can just choose the group you're inviting, and you can save the event, and it will just pop up on this list. So yeah, that's not really changed. Just double back to my questions. All right. Yeah, you should be able to add the group to the event. So let me just check that out. So you go to the event, we'll just call it group test. We'll schedule it for today. It's already the 31st. Wow, okay. We'll schedule it for like an hour ago, just so it definitely shows up. Not repeating it, no description, it's online. It's a private group, and I will select just a group. So I'll just do my everybody group. And then hit save. And oh, it's today. Sorry, that's why it's not on the upcoming tab. Group test. Size of the group 0. Oh, you're right. Okay, that's a bug. Let me just make a note of that. Good catch. Just cool. All right. Yeah. Sorry about that. Thank you. Yeah. No, that should of course say how many attendees are actually in the group there. And I believe it was actually going to show the little icons of the students' monsters too, for who's actually invited to the group. So let me check on that. Could have just been something we didn't get around to, but the group size definitely should display. That's definitely a bug. Cool. Thank you. Good catch. Any other? Yeah, and obviously, please let us know if you are catching any bugs or anything. Yeah, so events. Let me know if there's any other questions there. Covered assignments, whiteboards. So whiteboards have had a pretty big overhaul. Maybe this, clips, whiteboards, and assignments are the things that got the big changes. Public and private are still the same. Oh, one thing worth mentioning actually is from files, you can now create anything. So if you click new, you get these options to make an assignment, a public whiteboard, public clip, and private clip. So that's instead of clicking whiteboard, new, private, if you're already on your files, you can just click new and then pick exactly what you want. And then it will just generate it. So yeah, that's just a shortcut now to getting to those resources. But as you can see, this is quite a bit different. We've moved all of the music notation into the sidebar over here, where it used to run across the top, and all the tools from the sidebar have been moved down. So I've sort of rotated everything, basically. Everything from the top has been moved to the left. Everything from the left has been moved to the bottom. And we've condensed it. So basically, you can name or rename your whiteboard. So that's a little bit easier than it used to be. This is your notation menu. It's the same notations, except there's more of them now. And you also have the ability to color these in, which is kind of cool. We didn't used to be able to do that. They used to always be black or white, or always black. But now when you make an item, you just click on it and it'll pop up on screen here. But when you click on the actual item, you'll see that you can change the color and that individual item will change. You can duplicate that individual item, which is much, much quicker, and you can delete the individual item. You can also use these to resize. That's the same, but it's a little bit easier to see. They're a little bit more obvious. So yeah, the notation folder also has a search bar at the top. So you can, just type in like note and it will just slim this down to only showing you notes. So yeah, you can be as specific as you want. But this, and much quicker, you can quickly grab all the notation, fling it right onto the screen. And then the next down is your templates. So these are all of the templates that you've got. These are the ones we've preloaded for you. So you can just click on them and they'll just populate the background. So if this is what we want to work with, we can then just grab our notes and move them around. And then down here, you have your drawing tools. So you've got your pencil, marker, and highlighter, and line tool. So that's for drawing like straight lines. And you've got your circles, squares, and your text tool. And again, these can be all color changed and everything. And for text, you just double click on the word text so that it's highlighted, and then just start typing. And then you have a color palette. So if you want to change the colors first, so maybe you set everything to purple, then anything you make will be purple. So you'll get a purple, clef, you'll get a purple circle, you'll get a purple highlighter. Yeah. And those can also, you can change the color on these as well. So it's not permanent. It's just, if you want to build a whole bunch of things in one color. Enable drag mode, which is basically just to go back to the clicking tool. So if you were on like one of the markers or something and you don't want to keep drawing, you can just go back to enable drag mode and that'll let you select stuff again. Add image. We've had this forever, but I think this is one of those sort of like underutilized features. Add image allows you to bring any images from your computer or from your file manager into the whiteboard. So that can actually be entire pieces of music or screenshots or things like that, but it can also be your own elements. So if you have notation that you use or stickers or emojis or whatever it might be of your own that's sort of personalized, you just use this and it will add, you can just pick out any image from your file or you can upload anything. And then that will just populate right into the board here. And then with the delete button, that's just the eraser, and then you can just go around clicking things to delete them. One other thing that's really cool over here with the template menu is the My Templates and Files. So from here, this is where you can add your own backgrounds and your own templates. And now they'll actually display in a menu like this so that you can reuse templates over and over again. So you can just go here, filter through your files, figure out, whatever it is that you need. So I'll just grab PDFs. All right, this will be my PDF. And I'm sure most of you know this, but if the PDF is multiple pages, you can load multiple pages in. I'm just wondering if that one froze for some reason. Yeah, you just select the page, and well, this one's only one page, I guess. But if it was multiple pages, you can select all of the relevant pages that you would like to open, and then hit save, and then that will open it into the whiteboard. Oh, it did open. It just did it slowly. Okay. So as you can see, this is now a quick menu for you to go back and grab these resources as the templates. So, and you can resize. Oh, and the zoom controls are moved over here into this corner. So you can sort of resize that however you want. But basically, now you can upload your own templates, access them from this menu, or you can use our templates from this menu. So just gives you a little bit more flexibility. And like I said, if it's something that you reuse a lot, this will display in all lessons. So you can reuse files from previous lessons really quickly. The toolbar button here just hides and shows the toolbar down at the bottom. So that's literally just to hide it if you don't want it there. The clear all clears everything. So it will just clear the whiteboard completely. And then the lock, still same thing. It has your 3 different choices. No lock, so everybody can write on the board. Global lock means that nobody can write on the board. And student lock means that only the student can't write on the board. And so, yeah, so just depending on what you need, you can activate those. Well, let me just check on the questions. Oh, that's a good idea. For events, putting an end date so you can set like semesters and things. That's cool. That's a really good idea. I'll make a note of that. That's actually that makes sense. Cool. So yeah, so the whiteboard pretty much is still functionally the same, but all of the icons are sort of moved around, and hopefully it's just a little bit easier to use just overall. Now, next is Clips. Clips has probably had visually the biggest overhaul, but again, functionally, everything still works the same. As you can see, that was sort of the theme of this update, was make it prettier, make it easier to use, and try not to take away any features. So with Clips, again, public and private. For anyone that's not sure what public and private means, private means that if you're in a one-on-one lesson, I would just always pick private, because then you and the person you're working with, your student, will have the same copy of the whiteboard or the clip, and anything you do, you'll sort of see together. If you're in a group lesson, this becomes a little bit more relevant. You could choose public, and everybody in the group will be sharing the same file. So if it's a whiteboard, anything you write will be seen by everybody, and so on for everybody. And if it's a clip, if you record something, it will be seen by everybody, and for students and teachers, as far as whoever has access to that resource. And then if it's private, only the teacher can see what the student has submitted. So the students can all still see this teacher's submissions, but then the student submissions are tied to the teacher specifically and that student. So no other student can see those. So the way I think about this is, in the whiteboard is a good example. It's like you could either have a whiteboard on the wall and everyone's drawing and going up to the board and collaborating as a group, or everybody has their own little whiteboard at their desk or their own piece of paper at their desk, and they're all doing their own thing, and you're sort of going around the room to each person's document. And you can filter which student you're looking at from the resource. But yeah, so that's the basic gist of public and private. But if you're teaching one-on-one lessons, just go private pretty much every time. So in this case, we'll just do private. They look identical, by the way, so it doesn't matter if you pick public or private. Like, the interface is the same as far as usability. So one thing we have added to Clips is the ability to do an audio-only clip. So I'll show that off real quick, because this is the sort of the new thing. And as you can see, we've completely changed the UI for how these clips look and work. So we'll do audio first. So this line here is my audio line. So that's when I hit record, that should start moving around. But I can also set my audio, and you'll see down here, that's my little audio line as well. So I've got my audio all connected. My metronome down here, I can either just play the metronome and then hit record and just do my thing. Or if I want, I can use this button and that will synchronize the metronome to the record button. So when I hit record, the metronome will start at exactly the same time that I hit record. That can be really good for creating like a count-in track or just a click track for your students to work with. Yeah. So in this case, I'm just going to hit record. 1, 2, 3, 4, la 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 la. Sorry for my singing. And then I hit save, or well, I hit stop first. And now I can either, well, it's rewound already. So I can rewind it, I can re-record it, I can play it back, or I can save it. So in this case, I mean, I'll just play it back. That worked. I'm happy with it. I don't need to re-record it. I'm just going to save. So now in a couple of seconds, cool, that's saved. It's much faster than it used to be too. So it doesn't take like 2 or 3 minutes anymore. So that saved the recording. And now what you'll notice is down at the bottom here, we have the sort of audio controls as well. So we can control the clips from down here. And we have the plus button. This is so you can add another layer. So in this case, we'll do a video. You'll see that monster when your video is loading. So if you see the monster, that's okay. He's just sort of the waiting page. But if you don't see yourself and you only see the monster, then you might want to hit the little refresh button or just check your audio and video is actually connected. But this all looks good as we knew before. So I'm just going to hit record. I'm just using this camera. So record. As soon as you hit record, it will immediately start playing the audio on the other clip or the video on the other clip, and that's how they get synchronized. So then we're going to hit stop. And then, of course, I don't need to play it back. So I'm just going to save it. And now these two recordings are synchronized together pretty much automatically. So that's really when these controls at the bottom become relevant, because now when I hit play, it will play both of these recordings. If I rewind, it will rewind both of these recordings. So this is what we call like global controls. And then these ones are individual controls. So if you just want to play the individual track, you would use this. If you want to play the whole thing together and everything. So that's just sort of the general gist. And students can create their own clips as well. So this works exactly the same for students. Identical in every way, shape, and form. So they can just click the plus button, add layers, and do that. And then again, just like everything else, you can rename the clip as well up here. So I'll Clippy. Save that. Cool. Let me just check on the questions real quick. Awesome. Just as always, any questions, let me know. So basically, from the clips tool, as I'm sure all of you know, everything we've been doing here can be done in a lesson as well. And it looks and acts exactly the same. Basically, just instead of seeing a list of students here, you would see the two video windows. They sort of take up that side part. But yeah, so with clips, this is sort of the new interface. And as I said, you can make more and more clips. So we've also made the layout better for multiple clips. It used to be one scrolling bar. Now we've made it, as you can see, into sort of a grid. So it's a little bit more like the Brady Bunch style, where, if you keep adding them, they'll just keep sort of, yeah. So it should be a little bit easier to see everything and manage. But yeah, the clips tool is pretty cool. I'm excited about that one. Notes has not been changed at all, but real quick, just for anyone that might not be using this tool or not familiar with it, our notes tool also has an AI built in, so you can record and make notes about your students. These are not accessible by students in any way. You cannot share them to your students. The students cannot see them, so you can write whatever you need to write about your students, about their performance, about their progress in here, or just reminders to yourself. And just like everything else, they'll be tied specifically to the student that you're selecting. And they are available in a lesson as well. The AI portions, similarly to the assignments, you hit record. Anything I say will be recorded. This is going to be my lesson note for Ray Starwalker. I want her to work on the fourth and playing all of the new songs. And then I'm going to remember to bring in the book I told her I was going to bring in for next week, and then some tracks, and I need to send them some recital information, etc. So I can make my notes like that, and then AI magic. And just like before, in this case, I'm just going to do a to-do list, abracadabra, and in a couple of seconds that will generate basically this one's pretty simple, just a really simple to-do list, just a bulleted, basically bulleted list based on what I just said there. See? So, and then I'll hit save, and now my notes have that included. So everything auto saves as well. Just like throughout the platform, you should see these little saved tags. So that just means that it's been auto saved. But yeah, so that creates a note for your student, and yeah, you can reference it whenever you need. The leaderboard has had a minor change. We've given teachers access to the practice log. So students have had this forever, but teachers didn't have it. It's probably the only feature, I think, that was sort of in that scenario where students had it and teachers didn't have it. Most commonly, teachers might have something that students don't have. But this was the one thing students had on their own. And it was so that they could just write notes about their practicing. But we've beefed it up a little bit more and made it sort of more useful. So now it runs more like a practice log and a journal as you would expect it to. So it will show the duration of the practice. It will show the description of the practice. If it's an assignment, it will just say the name of the assignment. If it's not an assignment, the student can actually write in their own description and tell you what it is they worked on. And you'll see here, like with the assignment, it tells you it's checked off. So like this one, practice, that was written in by the student. The rating system is brand new. So I'll show you that from the student point in a second. But basically, students can self-assess their practice session. So they can give themselves a 1 through 5 on how they feel they were practicing. At the top, you'll see cumulative data. This is all new too. So how much the students practice today, this week, this month, all time, what their current streak is. So how many days in a row have they practiced? And that combines assignments and free practice time. So yeah, just all of practice combined, how many days in a row have they practiced? We'll just show right there. And then, of course, you see which days in the last week they've practiced. This also is where the student would edit the time. They can come here and just click on the time, and there's like it'll pop up a little editor. Teachers can't change the time. Oh, I lied. Teachers can change the time. So you just double click on the time, and then you can just, like I said, you can't increase it, so you can't add time, but you can take time away. So yeah, I'll put that down to 4 minutes, and then you'll see that will decrease. So yeah, that change. Oh, maybe teachers can't change it. Okay, yeah. Yeah, teachers can't change the time. Okay, I was right. I'll remove that anyway, so that you can't mess with it. Yeah, see how much I know. Cool. Let me know if you have any questions. So as we kind of wrap up, there's a couple little other things that we have. One other thing in the leaderboard is down at the bottom of the leaderboard, you will see assignment awards. So these will fill in with the gold and silver assignments that the student has filled in. So you can just kind of keep an eye on whether or not they're finishing those assignments. Over on the left, we've changed this toolbar just a little bit. So it's definitely worth mentioning. What sort of the main thing we've done is we've changed the support icon to actually show a face. It's usually me, so yay. So just click that. That's the same support, but it's a little face instead of a help button. We have taken away, there used to be this sort of like top thing that wasn't really an icon, it was like a house. So we've moved the icon to be the home button. So you just click the icon and that will take you home. From the tools, you have, these are the same, this hasn't changed, but you have your MIDI piano, which that's exactly where it's always been. But we have added about 20 different sound effects to this. So it does sound much better now. I don't know if you're going to hear it. I don't think you hear it just because of it. getting canceled from the noise cancellation. Um, it is it's much higher quality MIDI patches, and now you can also play these back. So you can hit play, and then it will open this XML viewer, and then you can hit did. And so you can control the tempo and you can create warm up exercises and things like that. And on that note, you can upload XML files too. So if you're in your file manager, you'll now see that there's a new option here called Music XML. So if you click on that, if you have any XML files uploaded, they will display when you do that. So here, I can, I've got a whole bunch. Well, I'll show you one because it is pretty neat. One thing that's cool about Music XML files is that they're playable. And we have built in a feature that allows you to synchronize the playback. So when we open this file, you'll see this is all the sheet music, and this is, interactive. Like notes, actually see, and you'll hear the note too. You can control the tempo. And when you're in a lesson, you'll have a little toggle right here that says synchronize playback. So when you hit play, this will start playing immediately on screen for all of your students. And any note that you click on, so like if you click on a note, that will jump to that note for the student as well. So it's pretty cool. It's a really nice way of being able to walk through the music. But yeah, as you probably know, when you hit the tempo for that song is not 140. So yeah, it's a really neat tool. And so you can get XML files from like Finale, MuseScore, Flat.io, Stalius, any of those kinds of things. And yeah, and so you can sort of create your own in the MIDI tool, and you can upload your own. And these can be added to assignments just like anything else. Yeah, so I guess I'll pause now from my rambles and see if the last 10 minutes or so anyone's got any questions of things I haven't really answered or covered or anything of that nature. Let me just stop sharing. I can go back to the screen share if there's anything specific you want. But yeah, is there any questions or anything that you're personally experiencing that you're wondering about? If we fix something that you might have been having a bug with, or you want to know how one of the new things works, or if you're interested in something we're working on in the future, or you're just curious, yeah, just let me know. I'll be hanging around for the next 10 minutes. So yeah, just send me some questions. Otherwise, so you can no. So basically the short answer is no. You can't remove practice. The question is, can I, as a teacher, remove practice info? And the answer is basically no. That's the students. That's their, that's theirs. Like they created it, they uploaded it, they worked on it. So they have full control over deleting it and changing it. So yeah, teachers can't delete students' information of that nature. The only thing you can do is delete the student, and then yeah, you won't see any of their data anymore. Students don't really see other students. The only time they see other students is in the leaderboard. So the only thing that the other students would see is this little section here where it just says like yearly leaderboard and gives total times. That's the only thing that is collaborative throughout the platform. So yeah, that is just, it is what it is. There's no way of really turning that off. We've never experienced an issue of students having problems with other students or anything of that nature. We find this generally to be more encouraging because you see the other students around you are practicing and you might not be. So it's supposed to be a motivational tool. But things like these awards and the assignment progress and the sort of like these stats and all of this stuff, this is all private. So the only thing that they'll ever see that's collaborative is just these little weekly, monthly, and yearly tabs. And the only collaborative nature is you just see what position you're in. So, you'll find out if you're in first or third or whatever by the little trophy. color that you've got. And then each week you will win one of these things. So if you do win the week, you'll get the gold badge. If you're in second, you'll get the silver. If you're in third, you'll get the bronze. At the end of the month, there's another set of awards given out. And then at the end of the year, there's another set of awards given out. But again, students can't see each other's awards. They can only see this top 3 panels. But yeah, unfortunately, there's no way of turning that off. That's just sort of the nature of the program. Yeah, so if it's left on, that's the student can edit that practice time, so they can change it now, so it doesn't do that anymore. Because there was an issue where students might leave it on for like 20 hours or something, and it says like 25 hours of practice, but they really did 20 minutes. Now the students can double click on the time and take away the extra time that's wrong. So it should be much more accurate. If it's displaying some wild times, you can just tell the student to fix that. And as it was just displaying, it looks like we half finished it. Teachers were going to be able to edit the time, but it looks like we didn't actually implement that. So I guess I'll just take a quick poll. Would you guys want to be able to edit the practice time for students? Because if yes, then we can just turn that on. But if no, then we'll probably just leave it off. What kind of tech issues, Tanya? It's hard to kind of pin that kind of stuff. It is like connection issues. I mean, we haven't really changed much about how the audio and video connects. We did do a little bit there, so it does. It used to save everything and then try to go back to those saved preferences. And if those saved preferences were not there, it could get confused. So we've changed a little bit about how that works. It now has like an automatic default system. So if it can't find the camera or the microphone that you might have selected, like earlier you saw I was using like an external camera. If I unplug that, sometimes that can cause confusion inside the system. Now we've created a way that it doesn't matter anymore. So I don't know if that's part of it. So when they get in now, they'll here, let me go back to screen share real quick. They'll get the same basic interface. So I'm just going to pull it up from here. It's the same audio video thing here, but basically what it's doing is it's connecting to either the last device that I selected, which in this case was my external webcam over here, or if I can figure out, I think it's that one. If I unplug it, it will now go back to my default, which on my computer is my OBS camera. So it will go to the default item. And then you can do the same audio config that you always have. And of course, if you don't know the test connection button, this will run a report. And then if there's anything out of place, it will tell you pretty much like, can't find this camera, this microphone's not connected, or permissions are not allowed, or something of that nature. Sometimes it'll even say like Wi-Fi connection is too poor, expect delays, things of that nature. It will just pop up right down here at the bottom. And then if there is any issues or you're not sure what you're looking at, because this is granted pretty confusing, you just send it to support, and then just send us a message on the chat support that you sent it to support, so we can go take a look. We get a lot of those. 90% of them don't need our attention, so we don't check every single one. So just give us a heads up if you do need us to check it. And then again, as always, the chat support. Really, the only way we can diagnose issues is if students send us the problems in real time. And in the lesson, of course, that's just the little help button up in the top corner. So, if we're actually in class, is this one up here. Every student has that. So it's even in the mobile version. Just in the mobile version, when you are sort of on your, when you're on this page on mobile, you don't have this little sidebar. So you're not going to see my icon down there. What you have is a toolbar across the bottom, and there's an icon that says tools. And when you click on that, it's got a whole big list of things, like whiteboard files, chat, assignments. And the last one is help chat. And that will open the same help chat. So I know it's students on mobile do have a harder time finding the chat support just because it's not so in your face. But that is there. So if they do, if they do still need it, send them down to us that way. I actually have not. Let me try. I've got an iPad right here, actually. Let me try that out right now, actually, because this is an interesting question. So Sharon's asking basically if we can connect an iPad to the laptop and use that to. Perfect. I've got exactly the cable I need too. To display something and hopefully display audio. So let's find out. Basically, you do have to connect the iPad to the computer physically. So that is your one limitation with this method. So you plug the iPad into the computer. So hardwire it in. Then let's get back into that screen share. So this is an interesting thing. I haven't tried this in a while, so we'll see what happens. Where are we? Student. Okay, we're in a teacher account. So what I need to do is I need to open QuickTime. And I need to go to File, New Movie Recording. It should show me. Good. This little drop down. And then change it. Oh, there's no iPad showing up. Interesting. Let's see if it's just because it's locked. Oh, it might have been a trust device. Oh, yeah, okay. So on my iPad, I had to verify. Like I said, I haven't done this yet. So I had to verify the device was trustable. And then let me just run this movie recording one more time, just because I think I had to plug it in first. Yes, still no. I wonder if it's been changed. There used to be, under camera, you would get an option for connected iPad or connected device was the option. Let's just go back through that process one more time, see if it works. Are you at least getting this far, Sharon? Because if I remember it correctly, it's do that. There we go. Mackenzie's iPad. Got it. So yeah, okay, I just needed to restart QuickTime. All right. Oh, speaker, Mackenzie's iPad. Screen. Well, that's interesting. It used to not be split like that. Okay, let's try this out. It might mean that it's not going to transmit audio at all. We can find out. So let me just, what do I have on here? Is there YouTube or something? YouTube. Sorry for anyone that is not interested in this, but it is pretty cool if you can get it to work. It means you can share your iPad during your lesson and use your Apple Pencil and all that fun stuff. All right, we're gonna watch these guys drive a car across the road. Okay, yeah, that was loud. I came blasting out of my computer speakers. That's good. That's a good sign. Okay, well, let's jump into a lesson real quick. All right, and we'll do share screen. Now, technically, window movie recording. Share, and if I hit play, yeah, I mean that should work because if I'm hearing it through my speakers, we added another audio channel into the screen share, so anything you hear from your speakers should be heard from the student speakers. So that should work. If maybe we can do a demo later or something and do a more in-depth test. But yeah, first preliminary guess that looks like it should be okay now. But yeah, it's a neat thing. You can basically control your iPad from the sometimes you got to disconnect the cable and plug it back in. Yeah, I mean, this is a workaround. This is definitely a finicky, I wouldn't say this is the solution at all. We're definitely more interested in building out, a wireless solution for that. And what we really want is the ability for you to basically log into the Muzie app on your iPad and on your computer at the same time. So you can open the whiteboard on your iPad, and then you can have the videos on your computer. And then basically you have full Apple Pencil control, full screen sharing control, all of that kind of stuff right from the iPad, but it would display on your laptop or computer at the same time. Yeah, when you're screen sharing, your audio from your microphone comes through a completely different channel. Yeah. Yeah, okay, yeah. So that's the new thing. So the new thing is this 2 audio channels at the same time, where previously screen shares only support just a audio channel. So it would either be the audio from this or it would be the audio from your microphone. So like when this would come up a lot when people would screen share a tab from Chrome. So if you're trying to share like a YouTube video, we used to have this problem where basically you would either get the audio from the YouTube video or you could have the audio from the microphone. But you couldn't have both. So as part of this update, that has changed. So that's why I think this will work now. And just judging, like I said, on that little test, it seems like it was working correctly, but I can't really know because I need to be on the other side of the call as well to hear it coming out the other side. But because I'm already in a call, that's just going to create chaos. You can't. So that's the thing, that in the future we are going to work on something like that, where you can log in from your iPad and your laptop at the same time. It's incredibly complicated though, so it's not something you can do right now. It will just log you out if you try to do that, because it will think that you're just trying to log in from a different device. So yeah, it's really, really complicated. So don't expect that one in the short term. That's more of like a 6-month project kind of thing. Yeah, because you have to fracture the entire product and build it out into a whole little container. So it's complicated, but it is cool. So yeah, and just as far as if people are interested, I know kind of now I'm running over the time of an hour. So anyone that is still chilling, just if you are curious what we're working on, basically it's a whole bunch of little cleanups, any of the bugs and things that, we missed on this time through. And then we have some ideas, as we've mentioned in the past, for sort of marketplaces and an idea for, basically like podcasts, professional development resources, things of that nature. So not trying to like sell things, but like provide access to more resources that would be useful to you. So that's one angle that we're going down. We've got a million different practice features and things that we'd like to add for the students, and we've seen a lot of good response from the students so far on on the practice stuff that we have added. And then we're always looking at new things for our institution accounts. So yeah, the nice thing is we've done this big update and we've got pretty much an open book now. I mean, there's always a million little projects running at the same time, but we like to have some big projects we can sink our teeth into. So just sort of saying, this is the open time. If there's things in Muzie you've wanted to see, if you've wanted to, or things you want to see differently, or new ideas, or whatever it might be, and go as wild as you want. If there are things that you're like, they'll probably never build this, but hey, who knows? It's just ask us. It's worth a shot. We're filling up the idea book again, so please, just feel free to let us know what makes your lessons better. More in-person stuff, better recording, playback, things like that, are all the little projects that are kind of already in the works. But yeah, I spent a lot of fun. I like doing these live stream things. We're going to keep doing these, so they're not going to just be Q&As every week. We're going to start converting this into almost a podcast. And so my dad, Carl, who's the co-founder of Muzie, him and I will be doing that together. He's just in the UK for the week visiting family, so that's why he's not here today. But we're going to do these as sort of like a joint thing. So they're going to be open sessions where you can ask questions, but we're going to kind of do like a podcast setup, and we're going to do open discussions and things like that. I scroll over and for files, it might just be depending on how you're organizing them. So So the question here is, I need some suggestions on file management. I feel like I'm scrolling forever looking for my newly loaded files. So the first thing is newly loaded files always go to the top, unless you've organized your system backwards or in a different way. So let me share my screen real quick and just give you a quick overview of what that looks like. This lesson. So for files, there's a couple of different things that you can do. You can organize your files by name, up and down. So you see this little arrow pointing up. So that means that we've got it sort of in reverse order. And if we point it down, then we've got it in, alphabetical order. Created. So these are the dates that we created. Same thing. If we click it, it will show it in, up's the new ones, down's the old ones. Progress and due date, they have these little lines under them because they're not sortable yet. These are also not sortable because they're only relevant to assignments right now. So we're looking into what's the best option for how that would work. And then shared. So you can organize by, is it shared or not? So if it's shared, then it will float to the top. If it's not shared, it will float to the bottom. So what I would recommend doing is having your created be the thing at the top. So that way you have all of your items at the top. As with pretty much most file managers, this is exactly the same as how Google works or Google Drive. You have your folders first, and then you have your individual files. So you'll have all your folders up here, and then under the folders, you'll start all of your files. So when you upload a file, that file, I have no idea what that is, but we'll upload it. And this file will, as you see, appear here right under the last folder. So that's where the files begin. Now, unless I specifically had opened a folder and put it in that folder, then it would go there. But just because I put it into the general file manager and I have it sorted by the create date, then I have that at the top. The other things you can do to sort of organize your files a little faster is using the search bar. Just click on the search bar and then choose what type of file it is. So if it's a PDF, if it's a text document, if it's a video, if you have shared it or not. So like in this case, I'll just pick Music XML because I know there was only one, and we'll see only that file. Now I can go out of here and I can pick maybe PDF, and I've got hundreds of PDFs, but it filtered them so I only see PDFs. And then again, I can organize this by name, by date, by location. Oh, location's interesting. So when you've searched for something, this new field called location pops up. And that's because when you search, you're not seeing folders anymore. You're just seeing the individual files. So if it is in a folder, it will tell you. It will say that this one exists inside the folder Ultimate Music Theory. So if I click on that, I can actually see the hierarchy of where that exists. So in my home folder, I have Muzie resources. And then in Muzie resources, I have Ultimate Music Theory. And that is where this file exists. So that's a couple of different ways of sort of moving through the file system. Personally, the way I do it is I like it this. I sort by created, and then I use these filters to quickly access whatever it is I'm doing. So if I upload an audio clip or something, I'll upload the file, and then I'll immediately just click audio. And then that way, the very top item here will always be the thing that I just uploaded. So that's probably the quickest way for you to sort of see what's going on. Yeah, does that help? Yeah, and you can delete old folders and stuff. The Uke fretboard, there are a bunch of 4-string fretboards on the in the whiteboard templates. So let me know if those don't work, because I can absolutely make some ukulele stuff. I made a violin specific template a few weeks ago where it had like the tuning of the violin on the template itself. So if it's something like that you'd like, just let me know. always happy to make more games, resources, templates. I actually added about 5 or 6 more templates, or maybe even more than that, to the whiteboard. So there should be about 20 or so now. I think there was about a dozen previously. So yeah, just let me know. We're always happy to make more of those. Yeah. But yeah, I've got a few more minutes to hang. So if there's more questions, I'll happy to answer them. But I don't want to keep anyone who's got to run or anything. But yeah, what I'll do with this video is I will download this. I will put it on YouTube. I'll probably go through and edit it first. So I cut out any of the times that I went back to this page where I can see people's names and stuff. And then hopefully that won't get flagged this time. And then we can have that on YouTube. But I will also put this on our website. I'll just got to figure out how to make, I'll just make a new page basically called webinars or something. And on there, I'll put all of these videos for you as well. For anyone who doesn't know, the last webinar got taken down for some reason. Not really sure why. Obviously, we didn't do anything that breaks the YouTube rules. It was exactly this same thing, just with my dad. So I don't know. But if anybody needs anything, you know where to find us. The chat support's always open, and you're all welcome to more demos. Those are unlimited. That's especially now that we've made all these changes. Even student demos, like later today, I've got a couple student demos. That's absolutely fine. That is what the demos are for too. If your students are not sure how to use something or just want a training session before they actually take a lesson, send them our way. We're more than happy to get that set up for them. We just want to make sure. Oh, I forgot one massive feature. One thing that is important is we added the ability to automatically generate students' accounts. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention this. This is really important because it's probably one of the most useful things we've done. So now, instead of waiting for your students to create their own account, you'll go through the exact same invite process you used to, but you'll be given 2 choices: automatically generate the account or the old send invite and just do that the old way. With the automatic generate thing, basically you punch in the email addresses, it will generate an account for the student. The student will get an email that tells them to just basically click this link to finish your account. And when they click it, it will ask them for a username and a password, and that's it. And optional first name, last name, phone number, pick a little avatar, all that's optional. So the only things they need are the username and password. And then they just hit save and they're in. So it literally cuts down the process of getting students set up from days or hours into seconds. The cool thing too is as soon as you generate the account as the teacher, you can start sharing files with them. You can start scheduling lessons with them. They don't even have to finish their account for you to start interacting with them. So that should be really helpful for when you're onboarding new students. So let me know if anyone's got any other questions or anything, but I think I'm gonna probably wrap up now. So I'll just literally wait a minute, and if any other questions pop through, I'm happy to take them, but if not, it was a pleasure. Thank you all for attending. And like I said, I'll put this up on YouTube, put this on the website, throw it in the Facebook group. And then I'll be making tons of more short videos of all the features so that there's more, digestible content. So just keep an eye out for that stuff. And like I said, we'll probably be doing these weekly, but they'll sort of convert to more like an office hour kind of thing, and then sort of a podcast maybe. We're not really sure yet, but so thank you very much, everybody. And it looks like we're probably good here, so I'll wrap it all up, and I'll talk to you all soon. Thank you so much for attending.